joint meeting of the Recreation, Education, and Ways and Means Committee to order. The purpose of this joint meeting is to hold a public hearing on the 2023-2024 operating budget for Monroe Community College. We will then proceed with the agenda items that have been assigned to both the Recreation and Education Committee and the Ways and Means Committee. When the Recreation and Education Committee items are finished, that committee will adjourn and we will complete the remainder of the Ways and Means Committee agenda.
Please call the roll for the Recreation Education Committee.
Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines is present. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert is present. Mr. McCabe is excused. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Chairman Alcoffer. Chairman Alcoffer. Chairman Alcoffer is present.
Will the clerk please call the roll for the Ways and Means Committee?
Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Delahanty. Mr. Delahanty is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci is present. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne is present. Ms. Roman. Ms. Roman is present. Chairwoman Smith.
Here.
Chairwoman Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present.
Will Legislator Baines please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we will have a presentation by Dr. Deanna Bertnana, President of Monroe Community College. Dr. Bertnana, welcome. Not here?
Well, oh, shit.
There she is.
Okay.
was going to say she was here.
Put money in the meter.
Welcome, Dr. Bertnana. We welcome you. Glad to have you here. The floor is yours.
All right. How many minutes? Till I'm done. Thank you. Well, thank you, Monroe County Legislature President and Monroe Community College Trustee Sabrina Lamar, Ways and Means Committee Chair Sean Delahanty, and Chair Jackie Smith and members of the committee, as well as Recreation and Education Committee Chair Frank Alcoffer, Chair Sean McCabe, and members of the committee. We are grateful to all of you and Monroe County Executive Adam Bello for the opportunity to present MCC's fiscal year 2023-24 budget and to answer any questions that you may have. My name is Dr. Deanna Bertnana. I'm the president, proudly, of Monroe Community College, and I'm joined today with my colleagues, MCC Chief Financial Officer and Vice President of Administrative Services, Mr. Greg Hinton, and Associate Vice President Daryl Jacob Moore, who are here in the audience to answer any questions that might be of interest to you. Monroe County's investment in access to high-quality higher education is part of a much larger picture, one shaped by an abiding commitment to the quality of life and the economic prosperity for residents across all zip codes of our community. And it is my distinct honor to lead MCC, one of the nation's most respected and innovative community colleges. As we inspire the way forward, we are committed to helping Monroe County, the Finger Lakes region, and the New York State to reinvigorate our economies and prepare residents for renewed prosperity and personal fulfillment. Since opening our doors 61 years ago on September 19, 1962, MCC has provided accessible, affordable, and high-quality education to thousands of Monroe County residents each year. We are especially grateful for your consistent partnership and investment in MCC. Your investment is visible and it's measurable across all levels of our institution and across the region. An example is the public health related training our public safety department receives and delivers this year. Among others, this training includes crisis intervention, mental health first aid, Narcan, and stop the bleed training. MCC is among the top 4 certificate and associate degree producers in Monroe County and in New York State. And in May, more than 1,430 MCC graduates earned their degrees and certificates of completion. During the 2022-23 academic year, MCC launched its 5-year strategic plan titled Vision 2027. It includes a refreshed vision, mission, and core values, and MCC's first diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. The plan also includes 5 strategic directions and goals that guide the work of MCC over the next 5 years. The 5 strategic directions are Together as One, Student-Centered College, Enrollment Reimagined, Community Engagement and Partnerships, and Institutional Effectiveness, Efficiency, and Sustainability. Increasing student recruitment, enrollment, and retention are among MCC's top priorities. MCC is redoubling our efforts to attract and retain students by providing family-sustaining wage programs and comprehensive support services structured to better meet the needs of an increasingly diverse student population. We are also more directly aligning degrees, certificates, and micro-credentials and transfer, career, and entrepreneurial opportunities for our busy students to better support their career advancement. As you are already aware, MCC is here to meet the breadth of our community's needs. I am pleased to say that fall 2022 saw a 2% increase in unique student headcount compared to the prior year, fall 2021. And our current year enrollment is expected to exceed our budgeted enrollment by 4%. Moreover, 1-year enrollment projections for the Forward Center at our downtown campus exceeds the 75% objective set for it. Projections for years 2 and 3 indicate continued growth at our Forward Center. Learners participated in programming focused on manufacturing and automation, skilled trades, and career exploration. For academic year 2023-24, our projected enrollment for which the college will receive funding from New York State has stabilized at approximately 19,000 students, which translates to a full-time equivalent or FTE enrollment of about 7,000 students. As we continue to play a leading role in assisting the private sector in creating and retaining jobs, we will also train more than 3,000 additional students in our workforce development programs who do not have the benefit of state support. MCC continues to deliver on its more than 61-year mission of providing county residents and employees access to high quality and affordable education and training programs. Here is just a few ways that MCC makes an impact on our community. In Monroe County, graduates with an MCC associate degree will earn approximately $9,100 more annually on average than those with only a high school diploma. 87% of MCC career program graduates with full-time jobs stay in our region. There is a 14.8% average return on investment for taxpayers and a 16% rate of return for our students. Currently, we are among the top 5 certificate and degree producers among SUNY's 30 community colleges. The consistent support of Monroe County's taxpayers and leaders is having a significant impact on our ability to provide exceptional learning experiences to our students and respond quickly to the needs of Monroe County. Your commitment to MCC, the community's college, continues to reinforce our positive role to our students and to our community. During the past year, MCC educated and opened doors of opportunity for 22,597 students to date. That's 19,248 credit students and 3,349 non-credit for the 2022-23 school year, most of whom live in Monroe County and will continue to do so after graduation. Offered more than 100 degree certificate programs, including 20 programs that can be fully completed online, and 40 hybrid programs, including fast track programs ranging from 12 days to 22 weeks. Many of these are the result of consultation with our local employers, helping us to understand their workforce needs. We also responded to students' basic insecurities and needs: food, housing, childcare, mental health, technology, transportation, and more, so that they were able to focus on completing their education. MCC's efforts on behalf of students who are single mothers will be part of an upcoming documentary on the topic by Working Nation. The Washington Post editorial board cited how MCC's on-campus childcare facilities multiplied parents' graduation rates by more than 3 times. We offered 4 new micro-credentials in optical fabrication essentials, construction fundamentals 1, certified industry 4.0 control system specialist, and a certified industry 4.0 associate program, expanding our suite of short-term learning opportunities to meet the increasing demand in our area. We partnered with the Rochester Technology Manufacturing Association, or RTMA, City of Rochester, Monroe County, and others for the first ever Rock with Your Hands career exploration event. Rock with Your Hands featured dozens of employers that highlighted various careers, offered hands-on demonstrations, and provided information on their respective fields. We launched the Hospital and Community Mental Health Tech Associate of Arts and Sciences degree. That program was launched in response to the growing workforce demand in the healthcare field and in collaboration with regional employers. We also developed a mentorship program with the Rochester City School District to attract and retain teachers of color amid efforts to reverse a workforce shortage. This year marked the 9th year of the Be a Healthy Hero summer camp hosted at MCC, where approximately 800 Rochester City School District children attend. The camp helps reduce summer learning loss and promotes health and wellness of the children of our community. MCC hosted a job fair for students and community with 40 area businesses, agencies, and organizations participating. And we were named by the Aspen Institute in partnership with the Community College Research Center at Teachers College, Columbia University, to participate in an innovative reform effort, Unlocking Opportunity, the Post-Graduation Success and Equity Network. MCC is one of only 10 community colleges selected nationwide, and the only college in the state of New York. MCC was recently selected by the National Council for Workforce Education, or NCWE, as one of 4 colleges nationwide to receive a $138,000 to develop and launch a financial coaching program to improve their students' financial health and increase their graduation rates. MCC was chosen through a competitive process based on our college's capacity, for innovation, staff knowledge, and commitment to student success. We also graduated the inaugural class for the Licensed Professional or LPN program. Participants who participated completed training and prepared them to fulfill valuable roles amid the nursing shortage. We awarded $1.3 million in scholarships to 662 students through the MCC Foundation to help achieve their goals of earning a degree or certificate. And some 60% of MCC students graduate with zero debt. We added $737.3 million annually in income to Monroe County from the MCC graduated workforce. MCC looks forward to helping you to realize your vision for Monroe County's future and supporting initiatives to strengthen Monroe County going forward. As we did this year, we continue to create opportunities to provide accelerated training options and placement services for in-demand career fields such as precision machining, mechatronics, healthcare, optics, and photonics to help individuals and businesses thrive in our community. At MCC, we understand the need for fiscal discipline to secure the trust and confidence of the county and our responsibility to be good stewards of public resources. This includes our fiscal accountability in managing operating costs. MCC proposed FY 23-24 operating budget details. At $111.5 million, our 23-24 budget increases by 1.9% over the prior year. The year-over-year increase reflects the implementation of newly negotiated bargaining union contracts and provisions for employees' benefits, our most valued resource, particularly to support healthcare costs offset by reductions of contractual expenses and equipment. The budget includes provision for rising utility costs and greater investment in student supports, including IT infrastructure. These increases indicate our commitment to the safety and security of our students and employees and an investment in the quality of life for both. Below are just some key factors influencing the college's 23-24 proposed budget. Full-time equivalent FTE students, we anticipate teaching 7,000 state-aidable FTE students. In the context of tuition, our full-time student tuition rate will increase by $144 to $4,900 per year, which has been formally endorsed by the MCC Student Government Association, or SGA, your constituents. Even with this nominal increase in tuition, MCC will remain one of the lowest tuition rates among SUNY's community colleges. Technology fees will remain flat. Student tuition and fees will generate revenue totaling $43 million. In the context of state aid for the 23-24 budget, base state aid is the higher of $997 per student FTE, or a funding floor equal to the prior year's base aid. And under this enacted budget funding floor, state aid amounts to about $29.9 million. In terms of sponsor contribution, we are requesting an increase in the Monroe County contribution of $400,000 over the last year. Under this budget, direct sponsor support will approximate $20.8 million and represent a 19.9% of the net operating budget in 23-24. And in summary, public colleges like MCC, we face a lot of pressure from the decline of national and statewide community college enrollments, increased competition, rapidly changing financial landscapes, to increased expectations to provide holistic support to keep students on the path to earn a life-changing college credential. Yet, with your continued support, MCC will remain resilient in the face of these unprecedented challenges. Monroe County's investment in MCC keeps higher quality higher education accessible to county residents. It provides the foundation, as we have shown, for a prosperous future for our students and graduates, as well as helping to keep the doors of opportunity open to those who may have found them closed. The investment and support of Monroe County and local taxpayers empowers MCC to meet academic and service excellence expectations that the community has expected for over 6 decades. So we thank you for your belief in MCC students and your understanding of the vital role our community college plays in the long-term vibrancy of Monroe County. On the behalf of MCC and our Board of Trustees, we express our gratitude to our county executive and legislature for your support and welcome opportunities to answer any questions you may have at this time.
We will now hold a public hearing on the approval of Monroe Community College's 2023-2024 operating budget.
There is not.
Budget. Well,
Are there any speakers signed up to address either committee this evening?
There are not.
Is there anyone here who would like to address either committee at this time? There being none, I declare the public forum closed.
item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Members of the Recreation Education Committee, you have the minutes for the June 29th, 2023 meeting before you. We will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day.
Members of the Ways and Means Committee, you have the minutes from the June 29th, 2023 meeting before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day.
Item on the agenda is new business. Legislators, please note the application and finalized version of the agenda for items required action by both committees. Mr. Clerk, please read the items to be considered by both committees.
Referral 23-0222, approval of Monroe Community College's 2023-2024 operating budget.
Madam Chairwoman, second. Second.
Second.
Legislator Delahanty.
Well, hang on. So we have to do recognize members of the Recreation and Education. Legislator Eber and Legislator Baines. And then for Ways and Means. Who moved it for Ways and Means? Legislator Delahanty? And then who seconded it? Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
At this time, are there any questions from the members of the Recreation Education Committee only?
Yes.
Legislator.
Dr. Bernana, and thanks so much for your presentation. In your summary, you discussed the challenges that we face in the current higher ed landscape. And here in Rochester, we have one of the most unusual events occurring this fall, in that philanthropist Tom Golisano is opening a 2-year institute for business and entrepreneurship. It's a 2-year program, and it has a price point that is in the neighborhood of the MCC price. So as you and your leadership team develop your vision for the future, how do you see this very well-financed new player on the landscape, located literally within yards of your location, and well-financed staff? The Bible is a partner. Something.
Thank you for your question. The competition in the marketplace is certainly not unique just to the Golisano Institute. There's also a lot of changes that are occurring in the four-year sector as well. All of it we consider to be competition. And so I'll speak more generally about, how we're addressing competition just overall, because I don't think that there's competition is good for the marketplace, but there's also the opportunity for us to put on even fuller display the excellence that we have in the 60-year history that we have of doing the things, just some of the things that we talked about on this evening. I have had conversations also with Tom, Mr. Golisano, about opportunities for partnerships. I'm hopeful that perhaps in the future, that might be an area of opportunity for us as well. But just generally, we do invest overall in partnership with all of our higher education partners throughout. Our price point is below where the Golisano Institute certainly is advocating for its unique place in the marketplace. The other place that is somewhat unique for us, but not necessarily all of our partners in the community. We are accredited. We're also an institution that provides for our students to receive a credential that is recognized throughout higher education, and not just in our own state, but in other locations as well. And so our students have the guarantee that they can receive a credential from MCC, that it will be recognized not only by other accredited institutions, but transferable generally to nearly any place they would like to go. But with that competition that's overall occurring throughout the marketplace, there's just an opportunity for us to better refine what our strategies are. So we acknowledge that there's a new player on the block nearby. But even before that, we were still investing in what's called a strategic enrollment management plan. And it's a very comprehensive plan that we have underway that is also well funded. We go out of our way to appeal to different entities that care about the enrollment of Monroe Community College and invest in making that possible. And so does SUNY. And so we also have the strength of SUNY behind us to help us in that regard. That strategic enrollment management plan addresses a breadth of different types of strategies, and I don't want to give away too many state secrets, but they also include making sure that we invest in our local community and have partnerships also with the Rochester City School District, all of our higher education, all of our K-12 partners, that not just RCSD, but that we strengthen what that opportunity that we have to work alongside them. We are seeing some uptick also in dual enrollment, and then we celebrated and talked about that also when we had our opportunities to speak with all of the different caucuses too, that is an area that's also unique that does not exist in its current iteration for an institution like a Golisano Institute. And for those that are unfamiliar with that terminology, it means that we have the opportunity to co-partner with K-12 schools and make it possible for students to attend at the same time at MCC, get a degree concurrently, potentially concurrently, and also be able to complete their high school expectations at the same time. So there's some nuances that we will continue to invest in. We also still have our P-TECH program that's also nationally recognized and gaining much momentum throughout the state. And the list goes on. So I hope that I provided somewhat of a satisfactory answer to your question. And I appreciate your question.
are there any questions from the members of the Ways and Means Committee only? Legislator Colby?
Through you, Madam Chairman. You said the tuition is raised $141 is that for a resident? For a non-county resident, is there an increase for that? Because their rate's different, is that correct?
Yeah, 144. I'm going to ask my colleague on the finance side to come and speak specifically to the tuition revenue question. Daryl, or you want Daryl or okay, Daryl's going to come. Okay. Mr. Daryl Jacob Moore.
Yeah, so out-of-state tuition is two times that rate. So the 4,900 plus 4,900 is the out-of-state rate.
Is that out of state or out of county?
That is out of state or out of county without a certificate of residence. If they have a certificate of residence, it then becomes charges to other counties, and that's a different rate. It is going up by about 11%. And that's built on all the contributions that this county makes to MCC, because it includes not only your direct sponsor contribution, but our fund balance. Really anything that's not state aid and student becomes part of that formula for how we calculate the rate for those out of county students.
What's the rate increase for a non-county resident? You told me what the total rate is, but how much are they going up? 11%? So what's the outcome?
The non-resident, that would be the 2 times 4,900 is going up $288. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Legislator Rowland?
Through you, and Chair.
What's it, Regis?
Yes.
There you
Through you, Madam Chair. I just have a few kind of general questions. Have there been any steps with financial literacy for students who are completing the FAFSA?
Okay. So the question specifically is about financial literacy and support for students in completing the FAFSA. So you're likely, in raising that question, also aware that the federal government just made a commitment to simplify the FAFSA. I mean, I have a PhD and the thing makes me have hives. And that's really, I mean, I've gone through that with my daughter, and it's like, wait a minute, that was worse than statistics. And so they have made a commitment to simplify that. I'm hearing your question in two parts. We have always made a lot of investment and time in making sure that students have opportunity to receive support in fulfilling the FAFSA. So we're also in the schools. And we're there to assist the counselors, the students. We have FAFSA events specifically to help students to do that. And we have the staff on site to make that simplified for our students as well. There's still other hurdles because life sometimes makes it complicated for students to obtain the information they need to complete the FAFSA. And that's outside the control of the institution. But the federal government's recent changes did make that also even more simple for individuals to bypass some of the hurdles that they otherwise had. So I hope that addresses your question about the FAFSA. I think you indicated there were others.
Madam Chair, so I think it's mentioned Finger Lakes Workforce Development formally opened in 2022. How has the first year fared with that?
Yeah, so in my presentation, I'll try to find the actual statistic, but it's pretty impressive. For those that are unfamiliar with the Finger Lakes Workforce Development Center, that's our 50,000 square foot facility. It's housed on the 5th and 6th floors of the downtown campus, the former Kodak building of MCC, where we offer all kinds of short cycle trainings for individuals within a matter of days or weeks, where they can earn a credential, enter into a trade, a workforce, and lots of different things, technology related, the list goes on. In that facility, we also house our healthcare programs as well. We have outpaced every projection that we anticipated and set for ourselves. I believe it's over, I'll just simply say it's over 70% above what we projected the enrollment to be for the Forward Center. That was an $11.4 million investment that the state made. And it's certainly, we received other contributions, both private and public, to make it possible for us to do that from Monroe County. So we're exceptionally proud of the work of our Forward Center. It is the Regions facility, and it also provides opportunity for us to partner with other higher education institutions like RIT and other SUNY colleges as well that are delivering training via that facility to constituents in their own counties as well.
One more question. So Monroe County, well, the Monroe Community College Applied Technology Center STEAM Edition project is currently underway. Once completed, do you project an increase in enrollment?
Thank you for your question. So that's been made possible by the generosity of the legislature and our county executive to bring forward an opportunity for us to have even greater relevance than we currently do in delivering applied training options for our students. We anticipate that that facility will allow us to train more individuals and therefore also equate to additional enrollments as well. But the bigger key of that, I mean, yes, we care about making sure that we have more individuals that we're able to prepare and put back into the workforce and upskill those that are already in the workforce and just need an additional skill set or refined skill set. But it gives us the opportunity to do it better and to do it with new technology that we can't currently do and to meet the growing demands. Again, this is about relevance as much as it is about making sure that we invest in even more citizens of our county.
Well, this discussion in regards to having inside. I have several questions. Follow up. Like, is a conversation about what's going on outside of it to make talk about the downtown. So make it more, like the campus anywhere else.
So you're asking a facilities question of beautifying our downtown campus even more than we already have. If you haven't been inside it, it's pretty impressive. Yes. So again, we have all kinds of interest in having opportunity to continue to beautify all of our facilities, all 4 of them at the various locations. And if there would be interest from the legislatures in helping to make that possible for us, we're all ears as well. A particular thing that we would like to also have the opportunity to do is to eventually look at different opportunities to route traffic in front of our downtown campus to make it even more safe and pedestrian oriented for individuals to cross Maurice Silver and other areas in that place. So I would love to have that conversation at appropriate time with the legislature and our county executive to discuss that.
Legislator Barnhart.
Thank you. The chair, you're eligible scholarship, right? Do you know what percentage receive it?
Colleagues, do you have those financial information or can you speak more generally? I'm going to ask either Mr. Del Jacob Moore or our Vice President Hinton if they have that statistic. You want to come up and address it? He's on the budget side, so he probably would have that more resident in memory.
I'm working from recent memory and some data. It's 200, I want to say about 200 students will receive the Excelsior Scholarship as we're projecting for next year.
Now, the Excelsior Scholarship through the chair is for families who earned $125,000 a year or less. Why would it be only 200? What am I missing?
Well, there are. Go ahead.
I was just going to comment that the Excelsior Scholarship is for the students that are on a 4-year track. There's actually both, it has kind of it's a double-edged sword. If you think about it from don't leave quite yet, Daryl, because I'm going to have you talk about something. I'm teeing him up to talk about how there is a bit of from a financial standpoint, it requires some generosity on the part of the community colleges. So the Excelsior Scholarship, for those that are unfamiliar with that, and I don't want to assume that everyone is, is for individuals that have an interest in attending at the four-year level at the community college rate. So Daryl, if you want to like backfill any particulars specific to how that works out for students and why they might.
Yeah, what I'd say is Excelsior is pretty restrictive. So a student needs to be full-time every term, and they really can't get off kilter or suddenly Excelsior goes away. So that weeds out students that might we have an increase in part-time students, for example. So the other thing is that the discount that's given, we essentially have to provide as the institution. So now the state has leveled it this year. So there's not a differential for this year, but for 4 years there was. So every year we were spending about $125,000 to fund this state mandated discount, if you will. So now it's flat and we'll see what happens with the state, going forward. But again, it's a great program if you're ready to come full-time and just go through 2 years and get your Excelsior discount. It's good for those people.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Legislator Yurgensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Burnett, first of all, thank you for the presentation. Some work you and the team are doing on behalf of the community. I have a couple of questions regarding capacity. The first one would be, you mentioned the projected enrollment. And I'm just curious what kind of room that leaves both to the facilities for growth and enrollment, and as far as staffing, how much you grow before you have to have corresponding increase in staff costs.
So currently there's more supply than demand. Okay, under the current model, with declining enrollment, we have excess capacity in both regards, in facility utilization, as well as, I'm talking about my main campus, as well as also in more staff. And so when we talk about making sure that we're being fiscally prudent and with the use of our public resources, we are having those difficult conversations internally about right sizing our institution to align it with current and projected needs. When we did Vision 2027, we took time to make sure that we were doing projections to the best of our ability to project what our enrollment would be over the next 5 years. And to align our expenses and operations to that. So we're making those adjustments in collaboration with our unions and with others right now. We're in those discussions. They're very collegial. We're all at the table trying to figure out something difficult, but for the longevity of our institution and for the good of the community. So we have found some ways to also repurpose facilities, and I'll give you a recent example of that. At our downtown campus, we now house the Department of Labor. There is a facility on our downtown campus that benefits MCC students, but it also benefits the public because it's not just for them. And it also addresses the holistic support needs and transportation and all kinds of residuals, because individuals have access to the resource that they need on the campus without having to leave and try to go find it in the transportation that's necessary to get to all those things. We're also in discussion with Rochester Works and other partners throughout our community about facility utilization and partnering and delivering some of their services on our campus. So to your question, we're both looking at making sure that we, again, go back to the question of relevance that was asked even earlier, that some of our facilities are very dated and can no longer serve the relevance of the current and the future state of technology, even in automotive and other disciplines that they need to have certain facilities to train individuals for what's forthcoming. And it will also be making sure we expand out our optics program when we have our new Applied Technology Center, which is expected to open in fall of 2026. And that's a growing field. So it's about relevance, but it's also about deepening our partnerships with those that there's a mutual alignment of the work that they're trying to do with us. Did I address your question? Thank you.
Regarding students enrolled in charter schools. And just wondering, certainly understand if you didn't have this information off the top of your head, but I'm curious to the breakdown of
students coming to MCC from charter schools and not charter schools as compared to enrollment.
Yeah, I do not have that information, but if it's of interest to you, we would be happy to follow up and provide that information to you to the best of our ability. My pleasure.
Legislator Milne.
Dr. Burton, again, thank you for being here tonight.
Legislator Milne, can you just make sure?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had the opportunity to briefly speak to some of your team members tonight, and I wasn't going to ask this question, but it's really just an open-ended question, if you will. I was in the community and I was talking with a couple of residents who brought up the concern that a lot of our dental practices are lacking technicians, et cetera. And I understand that this, of course, is another one of the great programs that MCC has, and there may be some efforts to bolster that program up and grow it. Is that something that you could address? What are the plans, if that's possible, to discuss? And is that something that's short-term or long-term? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's never, we can't ever be as quick as we'd like to be about making sure that we address immediate and imminent needs. And that's an area. I agree with you wholeheartedly that there is a shortage of individuals in that practice. I've heard it directly from colleagues and individuals that partner with us that have those practices that are seeking to have more individuals. Although I can't speak in specific detail at this time, I can tell you that we're closer than not to being able to expand our ability to provide additional training and opportunities like clinical experiences for individuals. Dental is a lot like, I'll go back to the example of what we're facing right now, which some of the decisions that were made in the enacted budget and at the state level have the potential to help in that. Most of the time in our healthcare programs, the restriction is not the desire of the institution, which ours is to make sure that we have the workforce in our communities that can meet the needs of the citizens of our community. It comes down to things that are regulated outside of the institution, like accrediting bodies for those programs, the standards that they set, and then for even things like the ratio of faculty to student, the number of clinical hours. And what you saw in the state's decisions this year was to make a commitment to allowing more simulation to start to be available. Now, I don't have the specifics of how that translates for dental. I can only speak for what is publicly available in our knowledge about simulation opportunities for individuals, but that could help because the requirements are that they have certain clinical hours that is necessary. We care about that for those of us that are getting our teeth worked on and things like that. We want people to be well prepared and we want them to be with the right type of preparation as well. But at the same time, we also want to have enough individuals that are entering the workforce to keep meeting the demand. So we're here, we're closer than not to having something that we hope to be able to announce soon that's favorable to the public.
Thank you very much. And a follow-up question, if I may. As you stated, you're closer than not. Monroe Community College has so many wonderful programs and the legislature certainly supports. If you got even closer and you're ready to move on something, is that something that would be within budget? Or is that something that would have to say, you'd say, okay, this is the plan. And now we're looking at 24, 25, 25, 26. And I have no idea. I'm not asking for how much is this going to cost, that kind of thing. But just from a timeline, not asking you for the timeline, but is it 2 or 3 years out, or is that something that could come quicker?
I think it's going to depend on what we end up deciding to do. I mean, there are options that we could utilize existing. Go back to your question about space utilization. We can certainly phase in different aspects of what we're able to do within the means that we have. But we also want to make sure that we are, again, go back to the question of relevance. We want to make sure that our students are being trained with the best technology, in the facilities that demonstrate their ability to get good jobs because they have the skill sets. And those things do require public investment to make sure that we are able to do it well. What we do commit to do, we want to always be able to do it with excellence. And so I can't directly answer your question at this time, but I can reassure you that we are just committed to making sure that all of our programs remain relevant and that we do them with superior excellence.
Thank you very much. That was a great answer, and I yield the floor. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further questions, we will move to a vote. Members of the Ways and Means Committee, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Item number 23-0244, acceptance of a gift from Wegmans Food Markets, amend the 2023 capital budget and authorize the interfund transfer for the Monroe County Park System-wide Facilities Renovations Project.
Legislator Weaver.
Second.
And Legislator Petty. All those in favor, any questions from any legislator Weaver?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, just a couple quick questions. What kind of a surface is included for the spray park at Ontario Beach Park? I believe that's what this is for, correct?
Through the chair, the surface is a concrete surface for the future spray park with a rhino tough coating to it.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last? With a something coating?
It is a tough coat, a rhino tough coat, which is an adherence, non-slip material that is applied to the concrete.
Thank you, and through you, Matt, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. How long will it be before maintenance that costs the county money will be required once this park is installed?
Through the chair to the administrator, through the chair, excuse me. We anticipate that maintenance would occur upon opening of the facility, from power washing of the spray park to upkeep and maintenance of the landscaping that will surround it. Our park staff will be concluding and conducting those work as part of their everyday ongoing activities at the Ontario Beach.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Do you have any idea how much incremental costs will be incurred because of the spray park addition?
Through the chair, there has been no specific value placed on the number of man hours that it will take to upkeep the future spray park. But it is anticipated that there will be man hours attached to the upkeep and maintenance of this. The aforementioned power washing, landscaping, et cetera.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield the floor.
Baines.
Thank you, note. Express on my behalf and on behalf of the taxpayers, my thanks and our thanks to Wegmans. It may seem like a big company giving $50,000 is not a lot of money, but to the young people and maybe young at heart who enjoy this spray park, it's going to mean a lot. So I wanted to share that before we vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, legislator. At this time, are there any further questions for members of the Recreation Education Committee only? Hearing none. No further questions. We'll move forward. Vote. Members of the Recreation Education Committee, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And now from the Ways and Means Committee. Moved by legislator Donahue, first seconded by legislator Delahanty, and seconded by legislator Roman. Thank you. All right. At this time, are there any questions? I will do my first one. I have declared my interest.
Okay.
Legislator Colby.
You, through you, Chairman, to the administration, what's the total cost of this, build out of this park, of this spray park?
Through the chair, the total cost is 1.168 million.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, we will move to a vote. Members of the Ways and Means Committee, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Are there any other matters to come before the Recreation Education Committee? None, there be no other matters. The July 25th, 2023 meeting of the Recreation Education Committee stands. Next meeting of the Recreation Education Committee will be held on Monday, August 21st, 2022 at 6 p.m.
We will now proceed with the rest of the Ways and Means Committee meeting. At this time, we will have a presentation by Mr. Randy Shepard, Independent Auditor for the Bonadio Company. Mr. Shepard.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I'm Randy Shepard. I'm a partner with Bonadio, and with me is Erica Proctor. She's a principal and one of the key members of the team that helps us get the audit done. We do want to thank Bob Franklin, Jennifer Cesario, Chris Kovacic, and really the entire finance department and other staff within the county that we come across through our audit process, because quite frankly, we talk to a lot of people here and get a lot of information, and it takes some time. So we appreciate the interaction and the candid responses. We did issue the county's CAFR back in May 24th, I believe was the date. I'm sorry, the ACFR and the financial statements. Right now, we're currently working on the single audit, which is the audit of the federal funds, and the New York State Department of Transportation audit, which is the funds related to the DOT program. And those are due 9/30. So we'll have them done, completed before then. And in terms of the county's financial statements, we did issue an unmodified or clean audit opinion on those financial statements. So that's as you probably imagine or can remember from the past, that is the highest level of assurance that we as an audit firm can provide. So that's what you're looking for. Tonight, I'm going to go through what we call the recorded communications letter. And this document you'll receive through read-in file sometime this week, I imagine. And there's, again, just some high level things that I want to cover as part of our process from the audit. One of the things that we do is make sure that the accounting standards that are applied by the county are in accordance with the requirements. There was one new accounting standard that was implemented this year, GASB 87, related to leases. So accounting for lease transactions. In a nutshell, just required in the past, leases would be recorded on an expense on an annual basis as they're paid. If they met certain criteria, you actually had to pick up the value of that lease as an asset and the entire value of that lease as the liability. So on a net basis, there was really no overall change on it, but it does pick up that information. There was no other transactions that were recognized, that were not recognized in the proper period. They were all recorded properly. In terms of estimates, every set of financial statements has some element of estimation within them. The county statements has four, the same four that you've had historically. Two of them are actuarially driven, your other post-employment benefit obligations, so your obligations to retirees, as well as your net pension cost related to the actual New York State retirement system, both police and fire, as well as the ERS system. The other two relate to your uncollectible accounts, so related to receivables for tax surcharges, et cetera. And then depreciation and amortization on your assets is the other estimate. So we look at those assumptions, make sure that they're fair and reasonable in relation to the financial statements and that they're recorded properly. At the same time, we evaluate estimates or excuse me, disclosures that might be considered sensitive. And by sensitive, there can be a couple different ways to think about that. The actuarially based estimates are sensitive because small changes in discount rates can impact that liability or asset. And then secondarily, if maybe you had some significant litigation that was outstanding. The only two particularly sensitive disclosures we have relate to those actuarial disclosures. There was nothing else that we had to disclose. Our audit process went well. We had no difficulties because our obligation is to you as a legislature in terms of letting you know how the process went. And as you can tell at the beginning, I thank the staff. So we did not have difficulties in getting our job done. We also report or provide information relative to journal entries that we record as part of the audit process. As you know, the county is a large operation, over $1 billion. And we had two audit adjustments through that process, relatively small in the grand scheme of things. There was a receivable to record as part of the MCC project that was due from Empire State Development. That was just a timing. There were some costs that were incurred. We recorded those as a receivable. And secondarily, there was one invoice that was actually a kind of a split invoice. Sometimes in construction projects, your developers or the contractors will give you an invoice and it covers 2 years. So we had to split that invoice out and move some of those costs out of the year and move it into 2023. So again, very minor when you think about the grand scheme of things. We had no disagreements with management relative to our accounting matters or adjustments that we proposed. And as I said, we issued the audit on the 24th. Two other items, really, just that we're not aware of any consultation or what they call opinion shopping. If we were aware of that, we'd bring that to your attention. And then lastly, as part of our audit, throughout the year, the management or staff may ask us questions. Those questions and our responses aren't a condition of our retention. That's just part of the normal operations in terms of what we do, and it helps the audit process go smoothly. So with that, that covers my required communications.
Thank you. At this time, are there any questions for Mr. Shepherd? Seeing no questions, we will now continue with the rest of the agenda. Mr. Shepherd,
Thank you.
for being here. We'll now continue with the rest of the agenda for the Ways and Means Committee members. The next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk, please read the next item. Oh, legislator referred.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I move agenda items as a whole. The remaining agenda items as a whole, with the exception of the following. And I'm just going to read the last four digits. 0228, 0230, 0232, 0234, 0236, 0239, 0241, and 0247. Those will not be moved.
That moved by legislator Brew. Is there a second? Second by legislator Mifucci. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
To be on referral 23 deck.
We're gonna start at 28.
Right.
Correct.
We're gonna move it. Madam Chairwoman.
Second.
Moved by legislator Delhany, seconded by legislator Brew. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral. Referral 23-0230. Authorize the acquisition of easements for the North Goodman Street traffic signal at 786 North Goodman Street in the city of Rochester.
Move it, Madam Chairwoman.
Second.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Dondorfer. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 23-0232. Authorize the acquisition of easements for the Brick Schoolhouse Road culvert project in the town of Hamlin.
Moved by legislator Dondorfer, seconded by legislator Colby. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 23-0234. Authorize the acquisition of property located at 650 Bean Road in the town of Chilai and amend resolution 437 of 1989 to amend the lease and operating agreement with the Monroe County Airport Authority.
Moved by legislator Colby, seconded by legislator Milne. Is there any discussion? Legislator Colby.
To you, Madam Chairman. The value that we're talking about seems to be higher than the assessed value. Can you explain why that is? And is that because they know where they are because of the airport, or?
Through the chair, the purchase price is based on an appraisal completed by Midland Appraisal Services. There is no correlation between that and the assessment. I can't speak to the assessment of the property.
Thank you. Is, through you, Madam Chairman, is this property being obtained because of the guidance of the airport authority need to purchase property when available in the general area of the runway?
Through the chair, yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 23-0236. Authorize the conveyance of a permanent easement to the Monroe County Water Authority for utility purposes at 637 Flynn Road in the town of Greece.
Madam Chairman.
Second, Madam Chairwoman.
Moved by legislator Bell, seconded by legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 23-0239. Authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Pittsburgh for the collection of residential food scraps as part of the Monroe County Food Scraps Collection Pilot Program.
Move it, Madam Chairwoman.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Brew, as well as legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Legislator Dondorfer.
The chair of the administration, we did have a copy of the IMA prior to our collective meeting.
You, Madam Chairwoman, yes, we can.
Any other questions? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 23-0241. Acceptance of a grant from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for the Raise the Age legislation and authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the Rochester City School District for an administrative and education liaison provider for Raise the Age youth.
Madam Chair. Second.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Dondorfer. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 23-0247. Establishing a fund balance policy.
Second.
Moved by legislator Dondorfer, seconded by legislator Colby. Is there any discussion? And seconded by legislator Mafucci. Legislator Dondorfer.
Does policy in any way inhibit the legislature from using any part of its current spending authority?
Madam Chair, I have to answer that question is no, it does not inhibit the legislature's authority. This body is the body to appropriate funding for its spending purposes.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, does this policy in any way usurp any authority of the legislature?
Any resolution passed by this legislature can be amended, changed, or eliminated by another resolution. Legislature.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, can you explain what all funds adopted budget means and includes? And what was this in 2022?
Madam Chair, I'm kind of a short way of trying to say what this legislature votes on our annual operating budget. For 2023, in round numbers, Madam Chair, we can talk about Monroe County having a $1.3 billion operating budget. That's the all funds budget. You look at our annual budget book, you'll see internal service fund, road fund, general fund, risk management fund. That's the all funds budget, the $1.3 billion operating budget.
Copy. Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, why are calculations set to occur annually and not quarterly?
Madam Chair, fund balance is really established once annually. And it's really at the time auditors sign off on their opinion of our financial statements. Any other time of year would be an unaudited number, and I don't think this will happen, but God forbid our auditors find a material misstatement. So I wouldn't want that to impact any decisions of this body.
Very certainly true. Through you, Madam Chairwoman, to the administration, could you please provide the current balances in both the assigned and unassigned fund balance accounts?
So, Madam Chair, the question was the current balance. So current balance would be unaudited. And we do not produce them outside of our annual audit. I can tell you that the assigned fund balance as of December 31st, 2022, pursuant to our audited financial statements, is 135 million, while the unassigned fund balance as of December 31st, 2022 is 77.3 million. That is combined available fund balance of 212.3 million.
Thank you, sir. Through the chair to the administration, can you provide an example of what might cause a CFO plan to come in at an other appropriate time? Wouldn't the appropriate time in the event of an unanticipated revenue shortfall be immediately?
Interesting question, Madam Chair. And I say interesting because I think the question is drawing in two different points. What I heard was an unanticipated revenue shortfall. That really is a current year situation, and that is addressed by Monroe County's charter. In the event that an unanticipated revenue shortfall were to cause a forecasted annual operating deficit, we are required, Madam Chair, to notify the legislature, I think within 30 days pursuant to the charter. And that notice would be accompanied by a plan of action.
Thank you, sir. And a last question through the chair to the administration. Could you give us an overview of how this will improve Monroe County's financial position for those who may not?
Try to keep this short, Madam Chair. The annual operating budget, we have within the section of the budget book called our financial strategies. what I call is managing county fund balances or county reserves, and I call it a fund balance policy. And this question has come up, do we not already have a policy? I would suggest, Madam Chair, that the fund balance policy within the financial strategy section of the adopted budget book is considered informal. It's really a policy of the administration rather than a policy of the governing body. And it's considered informal because there's really no legislative resolution by this honorable body to adopt policy. I fully comprehend that every year you pass a resolution to adopt the budget book, but there really is no reference in that budgetary resolution saying, oh, by the way, we accept the fund balance policy. So that is why it's considered informal and a policy of the administration. Not to be flippant about this, but it would really take someone to read that page of the budget book, Madam Chair, and it's an 800-page budget book. I don't know if I could slip it by everybody, but I know there have been years in the past where I could make a change to that policy in the budget book and no one would know. I think, and again, Madam Chair, I don't mean to be flippant about it, but at least with, and the question is about improving the financial position of the county. Finally gotten some rating upgrades. These days, it seems more and more of the rating is tied to fund balance, bad or indifferent. Now that you have a policy and you're seeing the financial benefits, because, Madam Chair, we had a record number of bids on our bond issuance this past June. There was 13 bids. Last year was 10, that was a record. And the bids were very tight. I'm talking like 35 basis point difference. So we probably saved $1.8 million on that competitive bond issuance because of our higher credit rating. Now that we have a fund balance, this legislative body should adopt by resolution a policy to keep that fund balance. And it's not going to be perfect, Madam Chair. Some years we're going to make a lot of money, and some years, you know, the earthquake comes and all our buildings fall down, and we're going to use a lot of fund balance to rebuild, right? So our current, what I would say, policy within the financial strategy section of the budget book doesn't say what do we do if we have a lot of money or if we have no money, right? It just says, oh, we're going to have a fund balance. Well, what happens when you don't? At least this policy says we have to do something. If we have a lot of money, more than the policy limit suggests, then we have to have a 1, 3, 5 year, whatever is appropriate spending plan to get us back into compliance. If we don't have enough money for the lower policy limit, at least we have to come up with a prudent, and again, 1, 2, 3 year plan to recover that fund balance. This policy, if the legislature were to adopt it by resolution, at least it has an autocorrect feature, right? What we have today is simply myself or whoever's going to succeed me in this job telling you what you should or should not do, if they tell you at all. This becomes something under the legislature's control. That was the long answer. Thank you.
Legislator Barnhart.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Franklin, for all of those explanations. And according to the state comptroller, it's actually good that we have a fund balance policy that is adopted by the legislature, so I appreciate the discussion. My questions center mostly around the legislature's role in the fund balance. The county announced the fund balance legislation on June 28th and asked legislators to sign on July 6th. Yet S&P published an outlook on June 12th stating Monroe County had this new policy already. Why did you tell S&P we had a new policy if we have not voted on it already?
Madam Chair, that's not entirely accurate. First of all, we did not tell S&P that we already had this policy in place. In fact, we discuss this every year, Madam Chair. S&P, as a matter of routine, asks us to supply them any new formally adopted policies by this honorable body. They know, because we've discussed this in prior year meetings with them, that we have within the financial strategies what we call fund balance policy. And in their words, Madam Chair, this is a policy of the administration, not of the governing body. They asked this past June, why not go to your legislature? And I didn't have a real answer. And it made a lot of sense. So, Madam Chair, with all due respect, we did not tell S&P that we already had a policy. We took their advice. And they do not know at this very moment in time that this legislature is perhaps voting on this time.
Thank you. I'm reading it again. I mean, I guess it could be a matter of semantics. I appreciate that explanation through the chair to the administration. According to the new policy, we will be out of compliance unless we spend about $82 million, going from $212 million to $130 million in reserves. Is that correct?
Pretty much, Madam Chair. As I said to prior legislatures in prior years, and to S&P and to our auditors in the prior year, we would not be within compliance if this were to pass tonight, meaning we would need a plan to bring us back into compliance. And that plan could be spend it all tonight, or come up with a 1, 2, or 3 year plan to spend that down. I'd like to have a 2-year block of time in my mind. Back to my tax accountant days, tax planning is always a 2-year process, you look at the current year and the future year. So, Madam Chair, we would be out of compliance if this were voted on tonight, and we would need a plan to bring us back into compliance.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, the state comptroller's presentations on fund balances, state counties should not have excessive fund balances. State law says fund balances must be reasonable, but they don't provide a definite number. Is our current fund balance at 20% of operating expenditures? Do you consider that excessive?
It's very subjective, Madam Chair. There are 5 categories of fund balance. What this policy is focusing on is available fund balance, and that is the easy way of saying the combined, assigned, and unassigned, because those are the 2 categories that this legislature could readily get their hands on. The comptroller wants a 10% available fund balance, and they want a 20% total fund balance. It is no secret, I publicly disagreed with the state comptroller's most recent audit of financial condition. I have said in the past, 10% was too much. And I did believe that in the past, Madam Chair. I will say that the COVID-19 pandemic has shaped my perspective. In early 2020, when it appeared that the sky was falling, and our revenues were perhaps going to be short by $140 million, 5% fund balance for 60 million would not have cut it. Fortunately, it didn't work out that way. So I would suggest that better for this body, it's my opinion, Madam Chair, it's better for this body to focus on the available fund balance and not worry so much about the total fund balance, because total fund balance includes things that, categories that are non-spendable, prepaid expenses, inventories, long-term receivables to the general fund. But I would like this body to focus on the available fund balance.
Through the chair to the administration, please forgive me if I missed this. What is our health fund balance?
Madam Chair, as of December 31st, 2022, the available fund balance was $212 million. 212.3 million.
That is the number I've been looking. Thank you so much. According to the S and P report through the chair, it says, we understand from management that it expects to draw down reserves over the next few years to comply with its new reserve targets. Budgeted reserve uses will include maintaining a flat tax levy, sidewalk installation, and increased investment in the sheriff's offices. The county also may use additional funds for other capital or human services support. That sounds like a plan. Is that a plan?
That was the response I gave to the S and P analysts when they asked me at our face-to-face meeting in June. Madam Chair, when you meet with the rating agencies, you have to put your cards on the table. I not realize they were going to be printing that in the report. Kind of feel bad that they printed holding a flat, holding the tax levy flat, because that's really something for the county executive in this body to do, not the CFO. But Madam Chair, I got to put my cards on the table, and that had been discussed. So I'm fine with it.
Thank you very much for that honesty, Mr. Franklin. I just have a few more questions and then I'll wrap up. If legislators propose spending any of this available fund balance, we need to identify the fund center in legislation. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, Madam Chair. In fact, this legislature 5 times earlier in 2023 has voted on 5 different referrals to spend down some of this fund balance. Each of those referrals, I'm going to say each of those referrals identified fund balance of where to put the appropriated fund balance.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, when I asked for the list of fund centers and their available balances, the county told me, the administration told me on June 28th via email, it could not provide it, saying, quote, with a $1.3 billion county budget, assembling a single countywide budget report of all fund centers and their unallocated balances is not possible, as the software is not put to provide a report of that size. The email goes on to say, every month, the Office of the Controller provides a financial report to the legislature that contains budget appropriations and their respective remaining balances by department to indicate the budgetary position of the county. So I have a couple questions here. First, where do you send these monthly reports? I went to my email. I asked some staffers, where are these reports filed?
Madam Chair, those monthly reports are I guess they're read-in files. So they're sent to the clerk of the legislature who stamps them and scans them in for the packet. I should say, Madam Chair, I did receive the legislator's email. It was a little difficult to interpret. And I say that because I wasn't exactly sure what I was being asked. And I say that because, and I have the email, Madam Chair, the subject line was unallocated fund balance. And then a request for the list of fund centers and their unallocated balances. And that's, Madam Chair, just not how fund balance is recorded. Fund balances are at the fund level. I kind of interpreted this request as the available unappropriated appropriations in the budget by fund center. So fund centers don't maintain fund balance by fund centers. Fund centers house our appropriations, and there are at any point in time available unencumbered appropriations. And I ran the county wide open in terms of a budget consumption report, and SAP kind of bombed out on it. I did get an error message that I didn't know what it meant. But there are 412 fund centers that have had some sort of financial transaction against them. So I'm not exactly sure, Madam Chair, that as the question was posed, I would have given the information actually sought.
Okay, well, in the future, you can ask me for clarification, but let me get at what I'm getting at right now. What is the procedure for legislators to propose spending these funds?
Through a legislative referral, Madam Chair.
Through the chair, if a legislative referral has to identify where the money is coming out of that line item, what is the procedure for obtaining that information?
Madam Chair, individual legislators through their offices should contact the county exec's office, and they will relay that information to probably myself in the budget office.
For the chair, so you're saying that if I want to identify $1 million, I can just send you an email saying, can you please identify $1 million and so that I can write a referral with that $1 million I'm proposing spending.
Should always be that easy, Madam Chair. I'm not suggesting that it will be. I will suggest, Madam Chair, that this has come up in the past. Madam Chair, when legislators have an idea for spending, it's usually discussed with the exec's office and eventually with myself. And the sausage isn't meant to be seen up close, right? Okay, so you want to spend money and you don't know how to do it. Usually the communication goes to the exec's office. I get brought in and I help. I try to ask questions and understand what it is that the individual is trying to accomplish. And I try to come up with options. A shotgun approach whereby an individual were to request all the unencumbered available appropriations in the county it's not going to be helpful, Madam Chair. My concern is, it's July 25th. I can give you a fund center that has $3 million of available appropriations, and people are going to think that, well, let's go transfer that. And you have that authority as a legislature. You can transfer appropriations as you desire. But it's only July 25th, and we may have 3 million in available appropriations, but there's a contract coming up for renewal September 1st. That's for 2 million. And if this legislature were to transfer those appropriations, now it's going to be a mad scramble to try and figure out how to renew that $2 million contract at MCH. So this is why I try to help come up with options. Sometimes my options aren't always appreciated. Within the past couple of years, there was a budget transfer and I snagged available TANF appropriations. And there was a former legislator who didn't want me to take money away from human services. And I get that, but it wasn't going to be spent. And I know that. So that was the available source. And I think I may have spoken into the mic that there's only one CFO authorized in the county charter. And at least the time being, I was it. And that was my recommendation. So this legislature, you have the authority to accept my recommendations or not. But I'm going to give you my honest thoughts and opinions on what if I'm asked.
No, thank you very much. TANF should absolutely be restricted. Through the chair to the administration's more of a comment. Actually, I'll just wrap up. I don't really have another question. Again, as I stated, I think this is appropriate to have this kind of policy. What bothers me is that in order for the legislature to come up with its own plan or own proposal to spend down these reserves, we have to essentially ask permission from the administration. I don't think that our state lawmakers go to Capitol Hill or our Congress people go to President Biden before they make legislation. I don't think this is a good process. I don't think it's a good practice. And I definitely think we need to think about how to revise it. And I think that in the future, when legislators ask for information, like what I did, there needs to be some kind of clarification instead of saying it's just too complicated. We can't give you this. So thank you very much. I will be voting in favor.
Thank you. Any other questions? Legislator Mafucci.
Mr. Franklin, one question through the chair. Through the chair to the administration. Just a simple question. When you talk about a plan to spend down funds, is there the ability to take those funds you need to spend down and put them into either specific capital reserve lines or just earmark some of those funds for a long-term project? So the auditors are, the state is looking, the comptroller's office is looking, if you were to say, and this is not you're going to spend $80 million on the sheriff's department building. Could we say that $40 million of this unappropriated fund balance, or this reserve balance, is actually earmarked for that project?
Madam Chair, absolutely. I believe there was a question of, and I didn't write the policy this way, but there was a question, you know, shouldn't the full legislature vote on the plan? As a package, I didn't write it that way, but this legislature will vote on each individual item within the plan. For example, and to the legislator's question, Madam Chair, about reserve funds, earlier this year in Reso 197 of 2023, the legislature did exactly that. It committed $10 million for town incentives to install sidewalks. So you're not spending that today, Madam Chair. That $10 million has now been committed, so it's out of the unassigned fund balance category, and it's been put in the committed fund balance category. And I remember that meeting well. We talked about how that money would be spent. It would, that sidewalk incentives, as DOT works on county road projects and it's appropriate to install sidewalks, and the town said, yes, I wanna do this, we would, through a legislative resolution, Madam Chair, have to transfer that committed fund balance to the relevant DOT capital project so that the sidewalks could actually get installed. So yes, Madam Chair, this legislature could commit some of this fund balance for a specific purpose at a future date.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And again, my question was just for that clarification that even though this is money to quote unquote spend down, we don't actually have to spend it right now, as long as it is earmarked, et cetera. So thank you for that explanation. Appreciate it.
Legislator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to explain the vote. I've done numerous presentations about what Monroe County does, who pays for it, and why it's essential to care. Much of that is 30 years of the late Paul Haney research, validating service, organization budgets, and a government is a service organization. Must be based on adequate, equitable, and sustainable revenue. We've been pretty bipartisan. I'm pretty proud of it. Let me say this. I commend the county executive, the county budget director, Bob Franklin, their staffs, and my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to this referral. Fund balance is essential for adequate, equitable, and sustainable budgets. This policy will provide the county with an increase in credit rating, helping borrowing costs and taxpayers. It will improve our fiscal credit score because it satisfies the New York State Comptroller's most critical criterion to assess a government's fiscal health. We must be fiscally healthy to deliver the services our residents pay for and expect. I enthusiastically support this report. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before the committee? There being no other matters, the July 25th, 2023 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will be held on Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023 at 3 p.m. 6 p.m.